This is going to be the reading comprehension session and we'll have some fun. I know most of you don't seem to have fun with respect to reading comprehension questions, but I'll promise you one thing, it'll be thoroughly enjoyable. And I'm going to teach you some very interesting tricks, shortcuts, with the help of which you'll be able to answer reading comprehension questions very quickly. In fact, what I'll promise you is, without even reading the passage, you'll get 50% of your answers right. That's a promise from my side. Before even I teach you the strategies, you will get 50% of your answers right without even reading the reading comprehension passage. So what you're telling all the people who have created the question is that no comprehension, but still 50% of the answers right. Okay, so let's do that. So we'll have some fun. Welcome to the session once again, guys. So first thing, let's try to understand what is the problem which people face with respect to reading comprehension. Right. Unfortunately, reading comprehension is a commonly tested set of questions in all the aptitude examinations. Whether you take any easy examination or any difficult competitive examination, let's say for example CAT or GMAT or GRE, they'll definitely test you on reading comprehension. Or for that matter, even campus recruitment papers, they always test on reading comprehension. I think all these people who create these questions, right, they have a very sadistic feeling in giving us some really difficult passages. Right, and then once we don't like the passage, it looks as if they are very happy about it. But anyway, as I promised you, we will fool them also. We will get 50% of the answers right without even reading the passage. So first, let's start. Let's identify the problems which people face with respect to reading comprehension. And I'll give you solutions for overcoming each of these problems. Right? So what are the challenges people face with respect to reading comprehension? Okay, the popular acronym or the short form used for reading comprehension is going to be RC. So let's start. The challenges people face with respect to reading comprehension. Problem number 1. The biggest challenge, right, by far I've seen, most of the people keep telling me is, look, it's very difficult for me to read the passage, understand the passage within the given time constraints. That's the first problem people face with respect to reading comprehension. Look, we get very limited time to answer each question, right? Like for example, we are supposed to solve 200 odd questions in 2 hours, right? So 200 questions, 2 hours means it's going to be like very little time. I'm talking about 120 minutes for 200 questions. So less than 2 minutes to answer each question. So you're telling me that within 2 minutes, I'm supposed to read the passage, understand the passage and get the answer right. So reading the passage and understanding the passage is very complicated, right? The second big problem people face with respect to reading comprehension is, in maths, typically we apply a formula, get the answer and get out. No one ever cares what is the logic behind the formula. Just apply some shortcut, some formula, get the answer, or take the answer option, put it in the question, get the answer and get out. That's what all the math faculty guys would have taught you. But in English, where are the formulas? Looks like there are no formulas for answering questions also. So the second problem people have with respect to reading comprehension, generally with respect to English, is no formulas at all. And as Indians, we always love to have formulas, some shortcut for each question. The third problem, even if I have some formulas, right? Let's assume I'm able to read the passage. I'm able to understand the passage. Or by some means, we're able to figure out there's a formula also for answering the questions. The biggest problem you'll always face in English, which is something which you'll never see in maths or in logical reasoning questions or data interpretation question, is getting stuck between two close answer choices. So typically what happens is, we have two close answer choices. We never know what is the right answer choice. So these are the three predominant problems people face with respect to reading comprehension. And obviously I forgot one thing, vocabulary. Hey, I don't know the meaning of certain words, so how do I answer such questions, right? So these are the major issues people face with respect to reading comprehension. Reading the passage and understanding the passage within the given time constraint. Problem number 2, there are no formulas for answering the questions. Problem number 3, 2 close answer choices, sometimes 3 close answer choices, you never know what is the right answer choice. On top of it, there are so complicated words in the passage, I'm not able to understand the passage and get the answer. So you are completely demotivated, you just want to give up and keep moving ahead. Don't worry guys. In this particular session, right, I will help you solve all these 3 problems. Problem number 1, reading the passage and understanding the passage within the given time constraint is very difficult. My solution, why should you even read the passage? Without even reading the passage, you'll get 50% of the answers right. Let me show you that. Second, there are no formulas for answering questions. There are formulas. Let me give you a glimpse of my formulas in terms of answering questions. 2 close answer choices. You never know what is the right answer choice. I'll give you a bunch of rules to avoid the close answer choices. Right. And vocabulary, even if you don't know the meaning of the word, right, you can always guess the meaning looking at the context or looking at the sentence, you'll be able to get the answer right. So my solution is there for you guys. Okay, I'm going to give you some very interesting ways of overcoming all these 3 problems. So let's get started. So what I'm going to tell you guys is, you can get 50% of your answers right without even reading the passage. Without even reading the passage, you will get 50% of your answers right. That's a promise from my side. Let me first teach you that. The next thing which I will teach you is the next 20% or 30%, right? So when I say 50%, I'm talking about 5 out of 10 questions. 5 out of 10 questions, no reading required, directly you'll get the answer right. Okay. Now, next 20 to 30% of the questions, you will get the answer by reading few lines. Okay, now the poor guy, that person who has set the question paper, he has given us one passage. We will respect him little bit and read 2-3 lines here and there and get the answer and get out. Okay, that's all, not too much beyond that. And then the last 20%, right? Last 20% or 30% is where you will have to have a quick reading of the passage. Okay, so I'm going to elaborate all this. So we're talking about 2 to 3 questions out of 10 over here and 2 to 3 questions out of 10. So let's assume that you're very good in maths and reading comprehension. Okay, you're pretty confident about it. Everything goes well. You're confident of getting good score over there so that you can overall cutoffs cross off. Then my recommendation is people very comfortable in maths and data interpretation and logical reasoning. English, okay man, there is an English section. I have to solve the questions and get the answers right. I don't know why it is there, but let me do it. Then all you have to do is something very simple. Just finish off only these questions, guys. The first set of questions, right? I was talking about 5 out of 10 questions, right? Where you, without even reading the passage, there is like no reading of the passage. Nothing is required, right? So you only attempt those questions and get out, guys. You have no business in terms of reading the other lines and getting the answer right. Please be very clear. People who are very confident in terms of mathematics, data interpretation and logical reasoning, just do the first step. That's it. Just do the first step. That is, without even reading the passage, let's get 50% of the answers right and let's get out. Now, the second step, that is the next 2-3 questions, right? Now, people who are not so good in mathematics, not so good in data interpretation, logical reasoning, you want to maximize your score using English, then you apply step 2 also. That is, without even reading the passage, you need to answer 50% of the questions. And let us read 2 or 3 lines and quickly answer the next 2 or 3 questions. That should be more than enough, to be very honest. Now, the last one, right? The last 2 or 3 questions, right, where you have to do a quick reading of the passage, right? That if it is absolutely necessarily, okay, let's say you're very, very bad in maths and DI, okay, very extremely bad in maths, extremely bad in data interpretation, logical reasoning, English is the only savior for you. Then you should do step 3 also. People who are very comfortable in maths and data interpretation, logical reasoning, do only step 1. Answer only 5 out of 10 questions where no reading is required. People who are average in mathematics, average in data interpretation, logical reasoning, you guys should do step 1 and step 2. That is, get 5 questions right without reading the passage, read 2-3 lines here and there and get another 2 questions right. People who are really very bad in mathematics, data interpretation, logical reasoning, follow all 3 steps, guys. Right? So anyway, I will elaborate all of them. We will run through all these strategies and you will understand how it works. So let's get started now with terms of strategies. So what is the first thing I told you? Step 1 is I can get 50% of the answers right without even reading the passage. The person who has set the question paper, useless guy, he has no other work. I don't know why he is given this passage. Don't worry, just ignore the passage. Without that also, you'll get 50% of the answers right. So let's find out which is that 50% of the questions and how do we answer this. Okay, so I'll give you some strategies and then we will practice few questions to prove the point that passage itself is not required, right? And by the way, guys, I'll be solving some real questions so that you understand that it will work in the actual examination also, right? It's not some strategy which I've manufactured. It is definitely working in the examination. So which are these questions? Let's look at that. No, which are the 50% of the questions where you can get the answer right without even reading the passage? So the first type of question is what we call as vocabulary questions. So what I have seen, for example, in the actual question papers, right? Almost 50%. Some exams it's slightly lower. I would say 30 to 40% of the questions are vocabulary questions. But if I look at, for example, the SBI Bank PO questions, typically 50% of the questions are going to be vocabulary questions. Vocabulary questions, you don't even have to read the passage to get the answer right, guys. Right. Worst case scenario, all you have to do is something very simple. You will have to just look at that line. Okay. And the good thing is that particular word will be in bold also. So all you have to do is look at that line. Even if you don't know the meaning of the word, right, you can always follow a very interesting concept called as plug and play, which I'll show you. Plug the answer choice and see if it makes sense, and then you can pick the right answer choice. Anyway, let's start. So first thing, what is a vocabulary question? A vocabulary question is one where they will ask you the meaning or the opposite of that particular word or the opposite meaning of that word. Okay. So there are 2 types of questions. One which is same in meaning. The other one is opposite in meaning. So what is the strategy? So now we know how to identify the question. What are the 2 words they will use? How to identify it's a vocabulary question? Very simple. So the way you can identify the question is, they'll either say it is same / similar in meaning, and the other one will be opposite in meaning. Alright, let's be aware of this. Okay, similar, same or similar in meaning, other one is opposite in meaning. So let's be aware of this, point number 1. This is how you'll identify the question. And the other key word which you will find in such questions would be, they'll say that word is going to be in bold. So the moment you see these things, you know it's clearly a vocabulary question. So what is the strategy in terms of answering the question? So the strategy is very simple, guys. 1, if you know the meaning of the word, get the answer, get out, guys. Don't do anything beyond that. And I've seen they are very simple and straightforward questions. Nothing to worry. So if you know the meaning, just pick the answer and get out. That's all. If you don't know the meaning of the word, all you have to do is go to the passage now. Let's say you do not know the meaning. So let's look at 2 steps. So if you know the meaning of the word, okay, if you know the meaning of the word, get the answer, get out. That's all the strategies. If you do not know the meaning of the word, let's say you do not know the meaning of the word. Let's say you don't know the meaning of the word, then you have to follow the strategy called as plug and play. Now what is plug and play strategy? Very simple. Go to the passage. It is very easy to find out where that word is because he has told you very clearly it is in bold. So go there. Now all you have to do is take the answer choice. So remove that, let's put it like this. Remove the word. Whichever word is in bold, remove that. Take the answer choice, put it over there. See if the sentence is making some sense. That's the end of it.